Okay, a couple quick things to look at on this bike. One of the first things, your oil plug for the drain. If you come down here, this is on what I would consider to be the side. And let me see if I can zoom in over here. Put your plug right down by the exhaust, right underneath your gear shifter. It's right down here. Let me see if I can adjust this. Yeah, right there. That's the drain plug for your oil. Okay, to get the fairings off and spread just enough to change the oil, you'll see this right here. That's a push pin. You got to get a flathead behind it, and it'll pop right out. And then there's two more in there on the underneath. Probably can't see them in here because, as you can tell, my bike needs to be washed, but that's hopefully later on today. You pop those bad boys out, and then the filter's right here in the back, which of course can't be illuminated properly, so be it. And let me go get a picture of that wonderful oil filter cup that works so well. Okay, to get the drain plug out, turns out this is a 17 millimeter socket. Yeah, you might be able to see it, might not, you know, so be it. Just for giggles. I wonder if it's going to show. Of course not. I have that. I have basically, it's about an 1.5 to 2 inch extension on a wonderful ratchet. And that works real well for getting that off. Now for the oil filter wrench that I've been using, this is, it says Toyota filter wrench. It says performance tool. And the model number on the bottom, which is probably the most helpful part of this whole freaking thing, is W54118. It comes with a lifetime warranty. It fits real good with the oil filter on this. Actually have that off draining. I was going to do an oil filter change today, but not doing oil or filter. Just wanted to get this out there for somebody. Now, the most important thing about this whole setup, when you go to change the oil, do yourself a favor. Make sure that you're on a nice flat surface. And when you're done, and yes, I know this is going to look like crap because of the fact that, well, you know, life is life. But this is on an incline, so it's going to show a little lower than it should normally. But over here, and this is on the passenger side as you're sitting on it. And although you can't see it in the video, there's two little nubs behind this, and that's where you want that to be. Let me see. Yeah, I can't get a good shot of it, but basically there's two little nubs kind of like this on the edge. It's actually on this side, I think, over here. And you want to keep the oil when it's, you know, I would start it up after you do the oil change. Let it run for about 30 seconds, shut it down, and just make sure it's in between those. Make sure it's not on a stand when you do this. It'll throw everything off on you. And, you know, also, make sure that if you're going to change the oil and you decide to use some sort of, you know, regular old oil or something, make sure there's no friction additives. I've been using the Rotella T6. It has the JASO MA2 approval. You know, it's nothing more than a spec. It should be fine. But you want to make sure you don't have those friction additives. Since these have a wet clutch, it'll just slide like crazy. So, other than that, looking not too bad out here. My pretty little chicken strips back there. You know, so be it. I'm not sure the order of these two, but one's the timing hole and the other one's some sort of a check hole. And of course, over here, there's our oil fill. What I've found works pretty good in there. You're going to use about 2 quarts of oil with the filter change from what I've found. And the front, and I think I mentioned on the forums, you know, you can use a 2x4 piece. I happen to have the said 2x4 piece right here. And what I do is when I spread these fairing pieces at the bottom, because basically you're going to be pulling out 3 of those little pin pieces, starting with the one so obvious in the front here. And when you pop those out, you can go ahead and you take this and you spread it, and magically this 2x4 will suddenly fit in with it spread just enough for you to be able to take that filter wrench on that 1.5 inch socket, and then you can get that off, and it just runs beautifully when that happens. Makes it a lot easier. There's another wonderful shot of that piece. Hopefully it'll come through good in the video. I kind of doubt it. But that's pretty much the gist of doing the oil on this. And if you're washing it, one of the things to remember, I don't know how many people are used to motors in general, but allow them to cool off before you spray them with cool water or anything like that. And by cool, I mean like give it an hour or two. Otherwise, you're likely to crack things that you didn't think you could crack. You know, here's a nice shot of our radiator here. Definitely needs to be cleaned, and if all goes well, that will be. The other thing is, I know every once in a while you hear about people with the antifreeze. To check that, over here on the side, and this is still, you know, the same side as your oil fill, which I call it the right-hand side, or the passengers. I refer to everything as I'm sitting on it. You know, there's basically two spots on here somewhere. Basically, the way I look at it, as long as the fluid is above the bottom of the holder, I consider it okay. Several people have had questions also about the rear suspension. I don't remember the exact technical term, but it's more or less like a pre-spring rate or something like that. Basically putting pressure on this spring before you hit a bump. I'm over here, I'm looking, I would say I'm at like number 5 or 6. Yeah, and I weigh in about 200, 220, depends upon season, time, gear, you know, somewhere around there. What else? Oh, if you happen to down this side of the bike, be extremely careful. You will squash the rear brake pedal, and mine's been bent back out with a crescent wrench and some little bit of elbow grease. Other than that, everything on this is stock. It's done all right. I mean, it hasn't really had any problems that weren't caused by me. It's been about 20 years since I had my last bike. The last one I had was it was an old Honda. I actually liked it, but it was just so old that it was pretty much dead. But you know, and of course it's gas day too, because tomorrow is work. So anybody has any questions, you know, just let me know. We'll get this done. Other than that, oh, also, if you go to mount an Easy Pass, don't mount it here. One of the things I've learned about mounting it here is that it causes you problems later on, such as when you truly tuck in. Well, then you have what I like to call the CSS syndrome. I can't see shit. Could be a problem. The other thing I would say, anybody who's thinking about it, if you want to do HIDs, I wouldn't recommend it. I have a law enforcement background. I wouldn't do it. However, if you're gonna do it, it's probably well worth it. I, being who I am and what I've done previously, I stick with light bulbs that are still not hid. Because namely, I've seen what happens when people get blinded. They follow the source of the light. They run into you. You get squashed. It's not worth it. But, you know, for some people who are out there in the middle of nowhere or something, that very well could be something they have no problem with. Oh, a couple other questions I've seen online. Basically, around this tank, on the inside, there is a channel that, oh yeah, you can see that empty. But this channel out here, where fuel does not generally go, it's like a rain area or a drain out. But people have seen, you know, hoses at the bottom of this leaking. The big one, you know, it comes down here, it's black. It's kind of in the background though, you can't really see it. But it comes out the bottom here. That is the one, if you pour a gallon of water up there, it will be flowing out here like crazy. This one, I believe this comes off of like the, off of like a breather or something. I'm not exactly sure. Lots of things I know about, and this isn't one of them necessarily. Other than that, anybody who goes doing their chain, when you go to clean it, this right here, it takes two small sockets. I don't know the size. I haven't taken them off recently. Well, if you pull this off, you're going to get all the crap from outside of there. There's going to be all kinds of crap on there. It's well worth doing. And then also back here, there's like a slider underneath the chain. Right under here, it's a plastic piece. I like to try to keep that as clean as possible as well. Other than that, I mean, everything's pretty much standard. Oh, the other thing I was mentioning about the about using spools. It would install here, same thing on the other side. The reason I suggest it, see how this is nice and flat over here? Real easy spot to get your stand under if you have a regular stand. Now let's look at the other side. Now when you look at this side, it damn near goes straight up. Well, sometimes that'll slide when you're trying to get on there because you can't really get up in here because of the brake. So, you know, it really becomes an issue. So if you can, spend the extra couple bucks, get yourself some spools, just do it. I mean, I was cheap, real cheap about it. It's something I'm going to be doing, so that's on my list. So anybody has any questions, let me know. 2 quarts of oil. I use the Rotella T6. It's like 5W40 or 15W40. It's fine. Once I get the lower temperatures, you know, it should still be fine. I generally allow it to warm up before I take it anywhere. And by warm up, I basically consider that allowing it to go until it drops the idle back down to what I consider to be the low normal. So that's pretty much it. Your rear adjustment for your brake, right up in here. Whole bunch of nuts, whole bunch of wonderful stuff back here. The front, you know, front's all hydraulic. I didn't really see any adjustments on that. There might be, but don't worry about that. So, and the tires are in pretty good shape, you know, for the number of miles and stuff. So anybody has any questions, shoot back with a video or something. You know, I'll try to do what I can. I'm limited to a point as to what I know, but generally, mechanically, electrically, up until you get into ignition timing, like I've replaced timing belts and stuff, but there's shit I don't know, and I wouldn't give somebody advice on something I didn't know. It's, you know, if you don't know, don't speak kind of thing. And occasionally I find out that either I don't know something or that I shouldn't have spoken. So, hope this helps you out. Specifically, you know, you have the 3/8" drive ratchet. You have an 1.5" 3/8" extension. You have a 17mm, what the heck was that? I want to say, 6-point 17mm socket. The reason for the 6-point, you don't want it to round off the edges, and you're better off with the 6-point than if you use one of those 12 points. It's so much easier to use. So I hope everybody has a decent day, and ride safe, man. Have a good one.